Summary of the Mimer, Parshas Vayeishev, starting on Chavav, second side, Daf Chavav of Torah. The pasuk says, Veyshev Yaakov beretz migurei aviv beretz Canaan, that Yaakov lived in the land where his father had dwelled in the land of Canaan. Now we need to understand, first of all, the spiritual meaning of this pasuk. What does this verse tell us spiritually? Number two, why does it say twice that Yaakov lived in the land where his father dwelled in Canaan? We know that Yitzchak spent his whole life living in Canaan. Now, a more general question. Why is it that so often we call the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael, so often the Torah calls it Canaan? Isn't this a negative name? After all, Canaan was cursed. He was a bad person. Now, there's another meaning to the word Canaan. Canaani in Tanakh also means a businessman, a trader, and often someone who is somewhat underhanded in business. Now, what is the whole idea of business? That you spend money in order to make back more money. And now we can understand the spiritual significance of Canaani in a positive way, that Hashem gets involved in this world because right now, just in its natural state, the world is concealing its inner self. It's concealing that it's really godly. And when the Shekhinah gets involved and encloses itself into this world, what ends up happening is it reveals that the physicality and mundane existence is actually really godly. And therefore we have profit that now there's more open godliness. And the same thing happens individually, that although we seem to be losing out by being in this physical world, in the sense that the soul is much higher and much more sublime when it's in Gan Eden, when it's in the spiritual worlds. Coming down here seems to be problematic, seems to be worse for the soul. And therefore, now the Torah gives us more perspective and says, no, this is actually a business deal. We're actually coming back with more through being in this world. How does the soul come back with more? How does it end up that there's profit? Because being in this world creates a sense of a deeper sense of love and reverence of Hashem than the soul would have if it had stayed in the spiritual worlds and Gan Eden. The pasuk says in Tehillim, that the Torah of your mouth is better than alfei, literally than thousands of pieces of gold and silver. But what this verse means spiritually is that Torah's picha, the Torah of your mouth in this world, in this physical world, is greater than alfei. Alfei comes from the word teaching, or actually being accustomed. It's better that being involved in this world is greater than being used to the regular love and fear that we have of Hashem in spiritual worlds. Zahav, gold, is connected with reverence, fear of Hashem. There's verses that say that you can find that gold is in the north, which is the left. The left is connected with reverence and gvura, discipline, whereas kesef, silver, also comes from the word nichsef, nichsafti, which means yearning and love, desire. And therefore, what the pasuk also means is that being involved in Torah in this world is greater than the reverence and love that the soul is accustomed to in higher worlds. Now, although externally the feeling of bonding and love and reverence of Hashem is less in this world, but internally, deep in the heart and deep in the soul, it's actually higher in this world. over to the top of 27a. How do we achieve this? Through reflecting on the idea that the only real thing is godliness. And therefore, that's the only thing we should focus on, the only thing we should care for. Now, this was easier in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, because when we had the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple, godliness was revealed, manifest, and apparent in the world, and therefore it was easy to get inspired. What about in a time of exile, in a time of Golus? So for that, we can take inspiration from the pasuk "Uvikashtem mishames Hashem Elokech umatzasa sidrishenu b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha," that we should seek from there Hashem, and we will find Hashem when we seek out Hashem with our whole heart and soul. Now, the word "there" in Chassidus represents a place of concealment. Here represents a place of revelation. So when we want to seek out Hashem, when we're in a time of exile, seek it out from there, from the fact that godliness is not revealed. That itself can inspire us and connect us even more. Why? Because the fact that we're distant, the fact that it's not the natural place, so to speak, for godliness to be apparent, that itself makes us yearn more and want it more, and therefore it helps us seek out Hashem. But this is also the meaning of Cham, that it says Cham is Avi Canaan. Cham, the son of Noach. Noach had 3 sons, Shem, Cham, and Yefes, and one of them, Cham, is the father of Canaan. Cham also means passion, heat. That when we have that passion, heat, excitement, and then that leads to Canaan to doing this business deal of transforming the mundane into the holy. Now, it doesn't happen easy. It only happens, like the pasuk says in Ashrei, that Hashem is close. Hashem is close to all who call out him, to all those who call out him with truth. That means it has to be a sincere yearning, and then it will be really effective. That then, when the neshama is really seeking out Hashem and trying to rise above, then being in this world will actually lift the neshama higher than it ever could otherwise. Now, the pasuk says about Yaakov that when Yitzchak, he wasn't sure who's coming to receive the blessings. Is it Yaakov or Esav? And it says, Hakol kol Yaakov. The voice and the way he spoke sounded like the voice of Yaakov. The Torah says twice in a row, the voice is the voice of Yaakov. So the first time it says kol voice, it's written without a vav. The second time it's with a vav. What's the difference? So in Zohar it says that kol without a vav represents a silent voice, and kol with a vav is the audible voice. That, and Altreb explains here in Torah that the silent voice is bittul, is this self-nullification. When we have this self-nullification to let Hashem shine and be manifest through us, then we have the audible voice, the voice of Torah, which brings Hashem's desires, Hashem's will, and Hashem's wisdom down into the physical world. That's also the idea of Yaakov. Yaakov is made up of 2 words, Yud and Akev. Yud represents the highest spiritual heights. Akev, the heel, represents the lowest levels. Yaakov is about bringing down the highest godly energy into the most physical and mundane. Now we can understand the pasuk where it says, we started off with Vayeishev Yaakov, that Yaakov dwelled in he lived in the lands where his father dwelled, in the land of Canaan. The idea of Vayeishev, Yaakov lived, also means that he settled, and also means he came down, because Vayeishev is also the word yeshiva, sitting, as opposed to amida, standing. So you're descending. Yaakov descended into the physical world, and into the Maimer explains that migurei refers to the treasury of Yiras Shamayim, the store of Yiras Shamayim, of reverence of Hashem, and bittul, which Yaakov calls upon in order to have that through that bittul, through that self-nullification, he's able to let Hashem's desire and wisdom shine through him and be manifest through him without mixing in his ego. And that brings Hashem into the physical, bring Hashem down the Yud into Archive. And that's why it mentions again Canaan, because this is a business deal that we're getting involved in the physical. We seem to be losing out, but we're actually gaining. Now, there are two paths to this. There's the path of via Torah, which is where we're directly involved in Hashem, and it's all about Hashem's will and wisdom. Mitzvah, on the other hand, mitzvahs, we're involved in something physical, but we're using it out for Hashem's plan. Both of these achieve the same idea of bringing godliness into the physical. Torah brings perhaps a deeper level of godliness, whereas more powerful godly experience, whereas mitzvahs bring it more into the physical. And these relate to two paths to bring Hashem into the physical, Yichud Allah and Yichud Tata, and both part of the story of Yaakov, bringing the Yud into Archive. And in particular, through the mitzvah of tzedakah, this achieves this most.